Kerry will be doing a speech called Talkin' Trash. If you can't say something nice about somebody, don't say it all. Did your mother say that to you? Well, Kerry's mother did. But for reasons he'll explain in his speech, he hasn't always complied. Please welcome Kerry Jones. Talkin' trash, Mr. Kerry Jones.
Garbage, refuse, rubbish, trash. We all have it in our lives, but once we wheel it out to the curb, we forget all about it. Well, for 9 years of my life, I wasn't allowed to do that. See, I was a professional garbologist. I worked for the California Waste Management Board, and I got paid to talk trash all day long. I know Mom said that you shouldn't talk trash about people, but sometimes some people make it impossible to resist. I'm sure you've met a few of those in your life. So I'm going to talk to you about a few that I met when I worked in the garbage business. Take Sherman R. He was the chairman of the California Waste Management Board, and he was a political appointee appointed by the governor. But it was about 2.5 years into the governor's term before he finally appointed the chairman of the Waste Management Board, which should tell you that this guy wasn't exactly the pick of the litter when it comes to political appointments. Sherman had an interesting way of doing business. We were involved in a case with a landfill in Southern California. It was privately operated. And the gas had migrated out from that landfill into some homes, and they had 25 homes that had to be evacuated. Meanwhile, there's a city-operated landfill over here. That was a privately operated landfill. There's a city landfill operated by the city. By the way, there was an election going on. And Sherman decided that, well, we shouldn't be picking on the private landfills. We should go after the government landfills, too. Not to mention the fact if we could find some dirt on the city of Los Angeles, that would cast aspersions on the mayor, and then the other guy might get elected, right? So Sherman decided that he and I had to go out to the city-operated landfill. And we went out there. And there was some liquid seeping out of the side of the landfill. And in normal circumstances, that's not a good thing. You don't want liquid seeping out. But there was obviously construction there. They were trying to do something about it. But Sherman got all excited. We had the goods on the city of Los Angeles. He says, Kerry, get a sample of that. But Sherman, I don't have anything to take a sample in. So, well, you had that coffee cup in the car. So Sherman, I could get a lab to take your money, but they're not going to stand behind the results. So this was on Thursday. Following Monday, I came in to work, and one of my staff members was packing up a bunch of bottles, and I said, what are you doing? He said, well, Sherman told me I had to go down there and take samples. Now, this is a kid that never done any sampling before. I didn't know what he was doing. So I sent an email up to the front office. I said, Sherman, I resent my staff being asked to do things that are scientifically, legally, and ethically questionable. It wasn't more than 30 seconds later, I got a memo back that says, what do you mean by ethically questionable? They didn't care about scientifically or legally, but you know, this ethics question, what was that? So I got called up to the office and I said, well, Sherman, I agree that privately operated landfills are better operated than publicly operated landfills, and they're easy to enforce against because the private guys have money to lose. So, but I can't let my personal political beliefs get in the way of how I do my job. He goes, oh, no, I wasn't suggesting that. Yeah, sure you weren't, Sherman. So we were at a board meeting one day, and the board members all sat up there on the dais up there, and we were all sitting out in the seats. And one of my staff members, a young lady, was sitting over here at the end of the aisle. And Sherman got up during the middle of the meeting. He walks over, reaches down, squeezes her shoulder, walks onto the restroom. Comes back. About 15 minutes later, he does it again. About 15 minutes later, he does it again. I was getting a little irritated here. So I got up and I went over and sat down next to her. If looks could kill or get you fired, I'd have been dead and gone right there. But instead, Sherman got up, he walks over, squeezes my shoulder, goes on to the restroom. Hey, you can't get accused of sexual harassment, right? He does it to everybody. Yeah, the best word I could use to describe Sherman was sleazeball. Scuzz bucket, something like that. Well, then there's this other guy I met. His name was Keith A. He was what we called a rent-a-fed. Now, back in those days, they were just developing the environmental regulations for landfills. And so the EPA would pay the salary of somebody for the state to have on their staff so that they could bring the federal word so that we know how to do it right. But after they were there for a while, then they get hired out by the state. Well, by the time Keith finally got hired, we figured out that, yeah, maybe he really wasn't all that. So how do you get rid of guys in state government? You can't fire them. So you promote them. You create a non-job so that they can go sit in the corner all day long and not do anything. So they asked Keith to write up a job description for this new job they created for him. And they sent it off to the Personnel Board. State Personnel Board came back and said, he's not qualified for that job. He wrote his own darn job description and he wasn't qualified for it. What kind of guy is that? Well, I talked about this landfill where these houses were evacuated. Nestor A. worked for the Department of Health Services at the time. And he was responsible for setting the criteria for reoccupying these houses. Now, methane comes out of the landfills and seeps up. It can get up into explosive concentrations, so it was a real serious situation. And they wanted to make sure it was safe to send people back in. So Nestor decided that he would set the level for the methane concentration in these houses at a level that was below the ambient air quality in Los Angeles Basin. Go figure. If they would enforce that, those people would still be out of their houses. Oh, and one more thing about Sherman. Rumor got around that Sherman's secretary was spying on people because he would call you on something that was said at an event that he wasn't at. So people were thinking that his secretary was passing information. So Sherman decided he's going to call an all-staff meeting to dispel this rumor. Not only was she not spying on us, he wasn't sleeping with her either. Sat there just in amazement. Those of us who hadn't heard the rumor now knew. Those who hadn't heard didn't care. Sherman was really a strange character. So yeah, sometimes it's just hard to not talk trash about people. So I'm sorry, Mom, that I talk trash about these people. But once a garbologist, always a garbologist.